Hey folks, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. It's good to have you back. Today on the podcast, we're joined by AJ Philipsen. As an operational firefighter now supporting the ambulance service during COVID, he has also spent 20 years as a competitive kiteboarder. So whether it's pulling people out of house fires, cutting people out of road traffic collisions, supporting his community on the front line, or delivering babies, he's out there giving. This is no surprise from Mr. Don't Stop, Can't Stop, Sleep When You're Dead. He comes from a family of service with a brother in the police, sisters in the hospital, accident emergency and care homes. He's racked up some wonderful sponsorship with his push kiting school, ozone kites, MBS boards, fluid lines, Zeal optics, and his life out on the ocean. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by William Wood Watches. Having some fantastic success with their Valiant collection, they've released a bronze special edition with only 200 pieces available. So if you want to carry the spirit of the fire service right there with you on your wrist, head over to williamwoodwatches.com and grab yourself a beautiful piece of the fire service and carry it with you everywhere you go. Today, AJ is going to share with us some fantastic lessons learned, how he's kept himself fit and healthy, competing in the British Firefighter Challenge, running up and down stairs in London, raising money for charities, whilst doing his role as an operational firefighter, driving the ambulances, and out there teaching people how to harness nature kite surfing. Without further ado, let's jump in there with AJ. This is a great episode, guys. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoy it, and let's see you on the other side. AJ, welcome to the Firefighters Podcast.
Hello, Pete.
How you doing, brother? All right?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, my man. So we haven't seen each other since we did the stair climb in Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester.
Charity stair climb. So you were there sort of as part of the fire service, but what very few people know about you, so we've got, it's kind of like the triple hitter. We've got ambulance, fire service, and you're also sort of semi-professional, professional kite surfing.
Yeah, occasionally do that.
Which is quite a strange one. A lot of people on social media will know you predominantly for that.
Yeah.
So forgetting the ambulance and the fire service for now, how did you first get into kite surfing? Because I think it's quite bloody scary, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I just turned up at the beach one day. One of my friends was playing around on a kite.
Yeah.
And I had a quick go, slammed me into the floor, and from then, that was it. I was hooked. Next week on a kite.
It seems quite a violent sport, though, for want of a better description, because you see sometimes you can be bloody 30, 40 feet in the air. Yeah,
at the level I'm at, yeah, it can all go quite wrong.
Yeah.
When you're beginning, it can be quite relaxing and kind of surreal. They've just brought out things like foil boarding now, where flying around on a foil board where you're raised up out of the water, and it's just relaxing once you get the hang of it.
Foil board?
Yeah.
So it sounds stupid, but how does that work?
So normal board rides on the water.
Yeah.
So basically being ridden on the water, but you're cruising over the waves. So you've got a lot of like drag.
Yeah.
On the new foil boards, they come up out the water.
Okay.
And literally cruise on a wing. So the board's not touching the water.
Jesus.
So there's no crash and bang from the waves, and it's just silence.
Yeah, but then if you do come back in contact with the water, surely it catches a massive amount of drag and will whip you down quite quick.
That's where it goes wrong a lot.
Okay, have you had a go at it?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you get on with it versus standard kite surfing?
I don't enjoy it as much.
No.
But
does it feel like a different sport altogether?
Completely.
Yeah.
I'm good at kite surfing. When I learned that, awful.
Yeah.
It's like a new chapter, a whole new chapter. It's like learning all over again.
New chapter that excites you, or new chapter where you're like, no, I'm going to stick at what I'm amazing at or what I'm great at.
I know, I keep doing it. We use it when we're teaching on the boat.
Yeah.
So when we teach on the boat, they go upwind much better. So
really?
Cruising along on those.
So talk about the sort of natural progression from when you first started to now. We see you on adverts, you've got sponsors, you seem to be all over the place with it.
Well, when I first started, it was literally stood in a field flying a kite like a young child, really. And then once I started kind of getting addicted to it, I changed my job so that I worked in a bakery at night. So every day I could go out and play.
So specifically you could do it?
Specifically change my job.
So you'd proper gone deep because you thought...
Fully
as in
involved.
You thought you wanted to do it as a career, or you just hooked? Or?
No, I just got hooked on it.
Yeah.
And then my learning curve, I'm one of those people which everyone hates. I pick something up and I get good
quick.
Yeah.
Got that natural athlete, you just apply yourself to anything.
Everybody hates it.
Yeah.
You don't want to ever try and learn a sport with me.
Your growth curve is quite fast.
Yeah. So of course I had all the time in the world. Finish at the bakery at 9 in the morning. I'll be at the beach by 9:30, 10, and then I'll finish at 5 in the evening.
Yeah.
A few hours sleep, back in the bakery. And
so what age was this? What age did you start working in the bakery?
That was about 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
37 now. So.
Christ, so you started young. You weren't one of those that did a career for a while and you were like, man, I hate this. I need to release. I need to unlock.
Well, worked in bike shops for 7 years since I left school.
Yeah. How'd you find that?
That was nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite into bikes at the time. So
you've been quite close to the sporting world.
Yeah, everything I've done has been kind of related to what I've done.
Yeah.
So I used to ride bikes all the time, so I worked in bike shops. And then the odd one was working in a bakery and flying kites. The two don't really link, but...
Fair enough.
It's getting the time on the kite was the one.
For me, I mean, when I hear the factor of finishing at 9 and going to the beach, I mean, Jesus, most people would hear that and they'd be like, God damn, I hate AJ. I mean, how does that change your perception of sort of life, if you will, being able to head out to the water? You see you enjoy the sport, but I think of things like surfing, sailing, kite surfing, anything like that. There's more to it than just the sport, I feel, especially with maybe not just surfing, but when I think of old school surfing, people talk a lot about the spirit and the peace they find in the ocean. Is there any of that in it for you? Or
yeah, massively. I love being by the water.
Yeah,
you'll always find me at the beach.
Yeah.
If I'm not at the fire station, the ambulance, or the gym, it's at the beach.
What is it about it? Is it peace? Is it power? Is it because nature's a very powerful thing? To look out across the ocean puts you in your place. I mean, you've been out there, a long way out from shore, and realizing the power of nature, because that's ultimately what you're trying to toy with when you're out there.
You are.
You've got the wind and the water.
You're trying to harness nature, something you can't see.
And that's beautiful when you say it like that.
But it's really, I don't really see it like that when I'm out there.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes as second nature to me.
Yeah.
I've got to that point now where I just kind of get on with it and do it. And even when I went to go and do my instructor course, people ask me, how do you do this? I don't know, I just do it.
Yeah.
I had to reteach myself how to teach.
Yeah, I find that a lot with anything you've sort of built a little bit of mastery of, to then de-chunk it and teach somebody else how you do it. It's like when some people are like trying to teach someone how to throw a ball or even tie their shoelaces. Yeah. They're like, well, I just do it, don't I? It's hard to de-chunk something you've automated.
Yeah.
So to take yourself from a quote unquote expert, master, pro, whatever, taking yourself back into that teaching environment, how was that trying to de-chunk stuff?
Massively hard.
Yeah. Forcing you to slow down, basically.
Yeah. I do something at a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And I don't realise all the bits I'm doing into it.
The enormous complexity that's in the biomechanics and positioning and sort of kinetic efficiency behind what you're actually doing.
And then I break it down and I realise how much there is behind it.
Yeah.
And I sit there and look, why can't someone do something? And then I break it all the way down and I realise, oh, okay, I'm doing about 101 things.
Subliminally, subconsciously you're doing all of those things. Yeah. What have you found the most enjoyable side about starting teaching? Because you've been teaching for a while now.
Yeah, just the satisfaction, meeting new people, the joy in their face when they get the hang of it. It's a new sport. And taking people back, actually, how hard it is.
Yeah.
So some people just turn up thinking that's flying a kite.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't realise. They're just...
So have you ever had it go horribly wrong, either for you personally, where you're like, because I remember someone telling me they got out far and it's a bit like trying to swim with a duvet when it goes wrong.
Yeah, we have to teach all the safety stuff. Fortunately for me, I've never been in that situation because I've got to the ability where I've not been caught out yet. But there's still that time. Most probably will happen. Yeah. But yeah, I've had things go wrong where I've damaged myself, broken limbs. And,
really?
Yeah.
Such as what? What have you done?
I've had 2 lots of knee surgery.
Have you? Wow. What, from kite surfing?
Yeah, 1 full reconstruction on 1 knee.
How did that happen?
I don't really know. Middle of a competition, just came down quite hard and my board went one way and I went the other, only on 1 leg, and spun around and snap.
So are you completely attached to the kite?
Yes. There is a safety system on there which can disattach you, but yeah.
Unless you pull that cord, for want of a better description.
Yeah,
so you're locked into it.
Yeah, if you're not quick enough. So it can be quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, which is why, obviously, we teach.
Do people still die from it?
Occasionally, yeah. Unfortunately, there was a guy down in Cornwall the other week died.
Really?
Yeah, so it does still happen.
How did he die?
I don't know the full circumstances on that one, but he just got caught out. It was in strong wind.
Yeah. So what sort of heights do people achieve when they're kite surfing? People
are up to 30 metres now.
30 metres?
Yeah.
So that's a 10-storey building?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
what's the point in the board when you're that high?
It's almost paragliding.
Yeah, it pretty much is, isn't it? 10-storey building we're talking there.
You need something to land on, so.
Gee, and if you hit the sea from that high, that's like hitting concrete.
Yeah, more than concrete. You've got the drop, but the kite also pulls as well, so you have a lot of force.
So how long can you? Because it must be like holding a pull-up for that period of time. You strap to it.
Yeah, you're strapped to it. You have a harness around, a bit like a windsurf harness.
Okay.
And that takes most of the force.
So, but there's no assurance that you're going to get back to shore at any point. You've just got to try and navigate the wind, or
so you only go out in the right state of wind.
What is the right state of wind?
Never offshore. The wind's going offshore. If anything goes wrong, you're going
the wind's
out
blowing out. Okay.
Yeah. So you always do it when the wind's cross shore or onshore.
Okay. Where do people get this information for anybody that's listening and they've seen your stuff?
Just on the online, on the weather apps.
Okay.
Just know your local spot.
That's where you always tend to go. Yeah. First thing in the morning before you go, you check in the weather app, make sure it's blowing inshore.
Check where you are, go to your local spot.
Again, though, if it turns, you ever had anybody get caught out getting pulled way out to sea?
Yeah, it happens all the time. There's a famous video. If you want a bit of a laugh, there's a guy called Top Hat. If you look for a Top Hat interview video, there's a guy gets caught in an uplift and just goes flying over a forest.
Really?
Yeah. It's a bit of an eye opener.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really humbles people as to how powerful it is.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, there's just a guy just flying through the air and just gets sucked up into the clouds.
Is he alive? Did he die?
I think he broke a leg.
Yeah. Because then when you come down, you just got a hell of a bloody walk, assuming you land okay.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, do you take all your stuff with you? Because when you go out surfing, like you leave your stuff on the beach, but you don't want to wander too far from it in case somebody nicks your stuff, but you're going a long way.
Yeah, you just lock it up in your car and you hopefully get back to the same spot.
That's the theory, I suppose. Yeah. So what people don't know about you, perhaps, is that alongside this 20-year passion you've been hitting now, you're also an operational firefighter.
Yeah, I've done that for now 14 years.
14 years. So how on earth do you fit that in?
Spare time.
Spare time. I didn't know you had any, brother.
No, there's no spare time anymore.
So what drew you to the fire service, even though you'd found this tremendous passion with kite surfing?
So at the same time I was working in the bakery, the guy that I worked with just turned around to me one day. He says, "You've got a lot of spare time during the day. Do you fancy joining up?"
Was he in the fire service himself?
Yeah, he was in the fire service. And so on my birthday I went down there.
Did it interest you, or you just thought?
I'd never thought about it.
Yeah.
It never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd go down and see what it's all about. And the next thing, I was in, passed all the tests straight away.
Again, that natural athlete.
Natural ability.
How did you find the test to join in the fire service?
Myself, quite easy.
I know, a bit harsh, isn't it?
Some people struggle.
I know.
And
I feel like we've actually lowered the bar in the last 10 years. For all the right, wrong, different, whatever reasons, we've decided to try and help as many people as possible get into the fire service. But when I say to members of the public, I'm like, look, who would you like climbing the ladder to get you out of the building? They're like, well, I don't really care. I'd quite like the fittest, healthiest, strongest person. I don't care if it's a man, woman, boy, girl, black, blue, wherever they're from. I don't care. I just want the fittest, strongest. And sometimes, it feels a little bit like we've come away from that.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of the people we have on the Firefighters Podcast are the sort of people that have got into the fire service but continually challenge themselves because it's so easy to plateau and sort of rest on your laurels. But you blitzed it straight in, passed everything you needed to pass. But despite being an operational firefighter, you've gone on to do a couple of different fitness aspects as well. Yeah,
we've done the stair climbing, the British Firefighter Challenge.
So, people will have heard of the British Firefighter Challenge before. Perhaps not stair climbing, though. What the hell's that?
No, the stair climbing.
Sounds obvious, but it's challenging stuff.
Yeah, it's literally climbing stairs. It's as simple as that. It's just the distance of it. So in full operational fire gear, we were climbing stairs. I think the first year I went for it, I decided to do a mile.
A mile?
Yeah, a mile of stairs.
Full fire gear?
In full fire gear.
So that's a good, BA set as well?
And that was, no, not the first year.
Not the first
year.
Not the first year. So you've got 10, 15 kilos worth of heavy kit, which is a bit like running a sleeping bag.
That's before it's sweaty as well.
And you're doing a mile vertical, basically. Yeah. What's that like, charging the quads like that?
Well, the first time I done it, I kind of breezed through it. It was a weird scenario.
So was the distance set? Was it 1 mile you had to achieve?
Yeah, it was down at Broadgate Tower in London.
All right.
It was 10,500 and something stairs.
Yeah.
So what the normal person would normally try and do in a day, walking, I was doing up vertically in steps. In
full fire kit.
Which obviously is designed for insulation.
It's designed for insulation. You don't perspire. No. All the heat stays in there. Yeah. It's kind of like boiling the bag, isn't it, really?
Pretty much.
Awesome.
The elevator was the worst bit.
Really?
Yeah. So every time you go up, you had to come down in the elevator, and the elevator was like a box with all the padding around the outside to protect it.
Yeah.
And we were just baking.
Just cooking inside
it. There was no time. It was in the elevator, down to the bottom, straight back up again.
Straight back in it.
In a tiny stairwell.
Jesus.
So
how long did it take you?
I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes.
Is that all?
Yeah.
So sub 2 hours?
Yeah.
For a whole mile vertical in fire kit?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, yeah.
It wasn't too bad at all.
So you did that, and it wasn't perhaps the most challenging thing for you?
No, a couple of the other guys that were with us were struggling quite a bit.
I know they were, yeah. Really struggled, bless them.
I didn't realise how well my legs went.
Yeah.
And I just carried on going and going and going.
I think a lot of fitness is also lifestyle as well, though. Yeah. And you forget, because perhaps you have or haven't, spent hours and hours in a gym, but you live a very physically arduous lifestyle. Yeah. How often do you get poorly?
I don't know what that is.
There you go, baby. Because I would say to people, we're going to do some ice cold immersion today together. But you live predominantly outdoors all year round, out at the sea, out at the seaside, and you're hardening yourself, your immune system, your body on a daily basis.
I'm in shorts and t-shirt 24/7 now.
Shorts and t-shirt 24/7. That's it. And people think, don't you get a cold? And you think, your body adapts. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about our bodies. Yeah. We adapt to anything. That's why we live all over the planet, because we will adapt to wherever you put us. But you wrap people up and put them in a nice snuzzy cuzzy little office, and they get sick on a regular basis. Yeah. But you say you can't remember the last time you were sick?
No.
Beautiful.
I think if I had a cold, I wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
It's just
blitz through it.
Yeah,
get out there, get in the ocean, and raise that adrenaline, and before you know it, it's out of the system straight away.
Again. Yeah.
So you then went on and you competed in British Firefighter Challenge.
Yeah.
So how did you find that? Is it any more physically arduous? You've been nailing everything else so far.
Yeah, that was a whole different kind of situation, because it's a lot of strength all over, not just endurance. So you've got the endurance side of it plus the other stuff, bit of technique.
Plus it's all sub 3 minutes, isn't it? So it ain't endurance really at all for a lot of people.
And it's just technique as well.
Yeah.
Knowing you can do it. A lot of the guys I went up with the first year were panicking they weren't going to do it because people were falling over. It was that time in Bury when it was about 30 degrees in the car park.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Fine for me. I don't mind the heat.
That's it. I quite like that, because it sounds horrible, but I know a lot of other people are going to struggle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't train in fire kit and they don't condition themselves. Like I work out in here in this room that we're in all the time, and I'm regularly in 4 or 5 hoodies. Yeah. People are like, dude, don't you feel uncomfortable? And I'm like, yes, I do. Seek that discomfort. You've got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I think it was the intimidation for some guys as well. They were watching guys from other countries, hot countries, and they were collapsing on the floor due to heat. And you think, the guys from the UK, how are we going to cope? I was walking around in t-shirt and shorts all day.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the day without my top on.
It was a difficult year, that was.
No shade from the trees, nothing.
That's it.
And I just jumped in, got on with it, completed it.
Yeah.
Not the best time in the world, but completely finished it. It was a reasonable time.
Yeah. Did you get the bug for it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
How did you train for it? What specific stuff did you do?
Well, literally looked at everything you had to do and just physically done those things.
Yeah.
Hose rolling again and again and again, dragging barrels, dragging casualties.
Yeah.
Just anything you could do that simulate the same. Running in fire gear, up the stairs, down the stairs.
Love it.
Interval sprints.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah. Just killing it.
The local tower block.
Yeah.
Got in contact with them.
Again, it's all your resourcefulness, isn't it? It's how do you go about it? So you've hit the challenge in the kite surf and hit the fire service as well. But what probably very few people think about you is you're also a member of the ambulance service.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in the ambulance service for?
I only just joined recently in the last few months.
You haven't got enough on your plate, or you're just not busy enough? Or?
No. More, I've got a little bit of free time. So.
What drew you to that?
Well, it's over the COVID period. They asked for volunteers to jump on the ambulance during the time to help out as resources were getting very low.
Yeah.
And jumped on, done that, got kind of hooked on that, really enjoyed it, helping people.
What do you enjoy about it, helping or how?
It's just a different side of it. So you're like patient facing. Whereas in the fire service, it's like a...
sort of incident facing, isn't it, versus patient facing?
Yeah,
so the person's there, but they are and are not the focus particularly.
Yeah. Whereas...
You're dealing with the car you cut in or the building that's on fire or the hazard that you need to overcome.
You're working around the person, not with the person. Whereas now the ambulance, I'm now working with the person. Yeah. And weirdly, I then get fire service alongside.
Yeah.
And what's nice is I can use a bit of both.
Yeah,
so
you use a crossover skill,
Yeah, so I can kind of already see what's going to happen, what needs to be done, kind of get a bit of ball rolling.
So what aspects of the ambulance service you sort of find more useful now in the fire service?
Just being able to transfer the medical stuff.
We are pretty low skilled in that respect, aren't we?
You can spot a lot more. I mean, the fire service is very much predominantly, if someone's ill, give them oxygen. Give them
oxygen, or worst case scenario with defib,
Yeah.
Everything in between is fairly... I mean, don't get me wrong, anybody listening, we obviously care for people. We've got a lot of equipment, but we are saying this as a compliment to the people in the ambulance service. The skill set is substantially more, as you wouldn't be surprised to hear.
Yeah. I rarely do we give people oxygen on the ambulance now.
Really?
In comparison.
Wow.
So it's an eye-opener.
Yeah.
You turn up to a job and the last thing you're thinking about is giving oxygen. Yeah. Whereas in the fire service, the first thing you're thinking about is giving them oxygen.
People forget it's a drug as well, though.
Yeah.
You know, so you're administering a drug to somebody and it can have sometimes an adverse effect if you're not careful with it.
Yeah.
So what's been your best moment working with the ambulance service, as you've only been doing it recently? Because you've been doing it during a very challenging time.
Yeah. Delivered a few babies.
Have you really?
Yeah, during the COVID period, we delivered some babies.
Man.
So during that time when everyone's at home, anxious, terrified of what's going on in the outside world.
You're welcoming people into the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What's it like to be there when obviously a child that's not yours?
Well, for the people there, the joy and everything, for our side of it, you get that bit of joy, but it's also a messy experience.
Yeah.
But it's something you get to experience with the people.
That's huge. Being able to add that to your, not that you're going to put it on your CV, but, add it to the life bucket list or what, you know what I mean? Be there, present, helping somebody deliver a baby.
Yeah.
That's a pretty incredible moment, especially as you've only been in a few months.
Yeah, and there's people that say they've not delivered a baby and they've been in for like years and years. I've done 3 now in like 4 months. Yeah.
Jesus. It just echoes back to your sporting analogy where people just hate you,
Yeah,
hey, I could do that. Dude, you've been doing it a week. Yeah, I did yesterday. How? Just lucky guy, I don't know. It
just kind of happens around.
So flipping it onto the head of the fire service, you've been in 14 years?
14 years
14 years in the fire service, so a substantially longer sort of serving time. Yeah. What's been the one moment, thinking before you came in to now, what's been the moment that really signifies your time in the fire service?
Just being able to help the community, really.
Yeah.
I got really into the proactive side of community safety as well.
Because you're an on-call firefighter, aren't you, at your station? Yeah. So you work in the community that you live in. Yeah. So how much does that play a factor?
Massively. Yeah. You're always out there looking. It's always your local place that you're going to. Yes, we go further afield, but a lot of it is in your local area.
So for people that aren't familiar with community safety, what sort of stuff do you get out and do as a firefighter with the community?
You're just making awareness of fire safety. So we're going to schools, educating children, open days to educate people as to what we do. A lot of people just think it's a fire engine at a fire station turns up when there's a fire. Yeah. But there's quite a lot more to it, as you
Massive.
know.
People get it's fire and rescue service. So, very small amount of what we do these days is fires.
Yeah. And it's going on to things like vulnerable adults now. There's everything under the scope.
Yeah.
So it's just even fitting smoke alarms, fire advice.
Do you ever get to cross over some of your skill sets? I mean, I don't just mean ambulance service, but obviously you live in the community that you're working with the fire service, and you surf in the community you live in. So that gives you quite a random USP, like a local multi-skilled bloody superhero or something.
You bump into people all the time, and they're always asking for little bits of advice and stuff. And even just popping into people's houses, you're like... looks like an old smoke alarm on the ceiling. Yeah. And you end up helping them out and getting new ones fitted.
And as silly as tongue-in-cheek as it sounds, that could save their life.
Yeah.
It could. It sounds like BS to some people, but it never stops being true. is the sheer fact of it. These things are there to protect people. So coming back to the kite surfing, you've been doing that sort of the longest in your skill set. I would say perhaps, and you correct me if I'm wrong, in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, is you've just really started hitting a massive sort of sweet spot with exposure and the sponsorships and the people that you work with. What's the big goal with that now? Are you working towards anything?
Not really working towards anything. I've kind of settled into a nice little plateau where I'm just kind of cruising along, enjoying it, rather than trying to work towards it. I'm trying to enjoy it more. Whereas before I was pushing for competition and stuff like that, and it was very repetitive. Whereas now I'm just getting out there and enjoying it, relaxing into it a little bit more.
Do you think becoming a teacher has changed that at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. Changed the way you look at it.
Yeah. Whereas before I was just training for a competition. I had a set date. I had to be this good for this date, be able to do this. And whereas now I'm more relaxed.
In love with the process a lot more, not just the outcome of competition or anything like that. Have there been any comps running during this period of time? Because it's not a little bit different because you're fairly social distancing here.
So I'm meant to be in south of France at the minute.
Okay.
There's a competition in south of France I'm meant to be judging.
Really? What time you got to leave?
Well,
we've got to wrap this up.
The downside is I'd have to take a month off work at the minute with all the
is that
periods.
The lockdown when you come back, whatever reintegration, isolation thing.
So I'd have to go there. I have to have a week before. Then I've got the 2 weeks or a week there, and then 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
So for 1 week of work over there, it's a month of time off work.
Bonkers. So for now, it's still knuckling down, fire service, ambulance service.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to reach out to you, because obviously you don't live too far away, and they've heard and they've seen you on your Instagram, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you, either Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, either one. Both of them,
if they want tutoring and all that sort of stuff, where's best to go for it?
Hit up the kite school we work at.
Hit up the kite school, who's that?
Yeah, Push Kiting.
Push Kiting?
Yeah.
Where are they based?
That's in Frinton-on-Sea.
In Frinton-on-Sea?
Yeah.
Magic.
My hometown.
For anyone that's never done it, what would your one piece of advice be?
Come into it with open eyes.
Yeah.
It's not that easy as you think.
Brother, it doesn't look easy. And you're not reassured me with the broken leg and the flying over the forest, I'll be honest.
No, it's as simple as flying a kite, but
it's a hell of a beast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tiny little things, they produce a lot of power.
Yeah. A little bit like people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the podcast today, brother, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care, man. Well, there we have it, boys and girls. AJ Philipsen on the Firefighters Podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Some wonderful takeaways, some wonderful lessons learned from AJ, and he continues to live his life every day in service of his community and his passion. Thanks for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast today. Be sure to check out the YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram channels. Make sure you catch the next episode. They come out every single week, you know. A big thanks to our sponsor again, William Wood Watches. Jump over to williamwoodwatches.com. 100% recycled fire service equipment. They give money to the Firefighters charity for every single watch sold. So don't be selfish. Get over there and take a look. Please look after each other. And until we see you next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay hungry. And we'll see you at the Firefighters Podcast next time.